Just north of the Persian Gulf are the plains of Khuzestan. The Bakhtiari tribes keep their flocks here throughout the winter. But in the spring, the sun turns this pasture into desert. Then 500,000 people must gather all their possessions and set out on foot and by mule to drive their millions of sheep and goats across the massive Zagros mountain range. It is perhaps the most hazardous test of human endurance, still undertaken year after year by an entire people.
هر کجا سنگ گپی مال لورونه جونم هر کجا سنگ گپی مال لورونه جونم هر کجا لور بچه شیرینه جونم شیر بو ستا او شیر بو ششتا او شیر بو هشتا او هیدایی دایی جونم سامبل منبر میسونم هیدایی دایی جونم سامبل منبر میسونم جالور بچه شیرین زبونه جونم هر کجا لور بچه شیرین زبونه جونم هر کجا لور بچه مال لورونه جونم شیر بو ستا او شیر بو ششتا او شیر بو هشتا او هیدایی دایی جونم سامبل منبال میسونم هیدایی دایی جونم سامبل منبال میسونم
My name is Shusha. I'm Persian. I was born in Tehran. To the people of the towns, the Bakhtiaris are a legendary tribe, and their migration is a legendary journey. To visit and travel with the Bakhtiaris had for many years been one of my ambitions. But when at last I had the opportunity to realize this dream, I found that many of the legends were myths. People are frightened by the Bakhtiaris, and perhaps their enemies have had good reason to be so. But to us as their guests, they proved both hospitable and friendly. On the other hand, the migration itself was more than I had bargained for. It has to be experienced to be believed, and once experienced, it will never be forgotten. Jafar Qoli was our host on this journey. He is the Kalantar, or chief of the Babadi, one of the largest of the Bakhtiari tribes. He became Kalantar at the age of 20, and over the past 30 years, he has earned the respect not only of the Babadis, but of people from many of the other tribes. And although in recent years much of his real power and most of his responsibilities have been taken over by the government, his word is still law in these mountains. The spring migration always starts during the first 2 weeks of April and has done so for thousands of years. Today it is Jafar who sends the word around, and this extraordinary journey begins. Each day we set out at dawn, a line of people and animals up to 5 miles long, winding its way out of the plains of Khuzestan and into the foothills of the Zagros mountains. From here on, there would be no shops, no roads, no doctors, in fact, no facilities of any kind. Each family had to carry everything it needed for up to 60 days. Each day, more people joined our line, and each day another 500 families would cover the same ground till the entire tribe had passed through the mountains. 500,000 people with millions of sheep and goats have traveled this route for at least 2,500 years. The sheep must live, and all of our movements were dictated by their needs. On the 5th day, we reached Cholbar. It was the first river, the smallest of the 6 major obstacles to be overcome. Jafar claimed it was a mere stream compared to what lay ahead. He was right. The Babadis are by tradition one of the warrior clans of the Bakhtiaris, and the Bakhtiaris are reputed to have defied Alexander the Great. In fact, they have never really been conquered. When you see them hauling thousands of sheep through ice-cold water against the current which we couldn't even stand up in, you understand why. Every day, after hours of traveling, our friends pitched their tents, and the villages, known as mahals, were re-established. There are about 5 tents in each mahal, and on a certain day in the spring, every year, a mahal exists briefly on this site. Jafar was very conscious of the size and the value of his flock. He has over 1,000 sheep, and early in the migration, he carefully branded his new lambs as a precaution against thieves, for stealing seemed to be a natural hazard of nomadic life. Jafar explained that his wealth was in sheep because he could sell the lambs at the end of the migration. Goats apparently didn't represent wealth, but as the Bakhtiaris eat virtually no meat, the goat's milk, made into yogurt, and a drink called dur provided most of their food. On the 10th day of the migration, we reached the 8,000-foot Munar, the second major obstacle and the first really difficult climb. There were 500 families and tens of thousands of animals on an almost vertical rock face covered with a network of tiny ledges.
چه ما باشه راضی کمه نمید بده خدی بارون ترسونه
Jafar hated the rain. It really depressed him. It delayed us, disrupted the schedule of the migration. It held us up for days because the tents made of woven goat hair became waterlogged and were then too heavy for the mules to carry. By the end of the journey, we had lost 11 days just through rain. People had been telling us about Shimbar for almost 2 weeks. Shimbar means the valley of the sweet springtime. Jafar talks about it as if it were heaven, and in a way it is. Here the sheep can graze at their leisure and gather strength for the second and more difficult part of the migration.
جونم کارو بهتر میشه گلسا جونم تو چالی زاره برنج میکاره میترسم به چات طاقت نداره طاقت نداره دونه های نارون ببرین آروم تر دونه های نارش داره میشه پر پر گل سای منو میدن به شوهر خدای مهربون تو این زمستون یا منو بکش یا اونو نسون یا منو بکش یا اونو نسون
Jafar rode ahead to choose a special place for his maal. When Jafar decides it's time to stop, you stop. When he decides it's time to go, you go. And if you're not ready, you get left behind. If he doesn't like the campsite, he changes it. Last year, he moved his entire maal after one night in Shimbar because the frogs had kept him awake. It is all usually done with good humor, except when the weather threatens rain. And this year, the weather was very changeable in Shimbar.
نه زیاده
من چی بود؟
آجا خطور زیر خود زیر خود بنی تا چی پیره جو خب بکر تو بکر بکر
این سر فرسی
Shimbar is the territory of the Maori tribe, famous for their thieves. But Jafar's flocks are safe because his sister is married to Faizullah, the Kalontar of the Maoris. Every year, Faizullah gives a luncheon party for Jafar. Women are normally excluded from such parties, but Jafar's sister, nicknamed the Lioness, is an exception.
حالا بالاخره تکلیف چیه؟
The two brothers-in-law discuss tribal affairs. Faizullah's 45-year-old nephew, a widower with 6 children, had paid a lot of money to a Babadi man for his 14-year-old daughter. But now your man refuses to give his daughter, claimed Faizullah. He says my nephew is too old for her. Who ever heard of such a thing? So we said, he will dye his hair for you. But that wasn't good enough. Then we said, she can marry his son instead. But still that wasn't good enough. In short, he has deceived us and is marrying his daughter to another.